If you have ever said, this administration lied to us 1,000 times about Iraq, the war, and al-Qaeda, turns out you owe Mr. Bush an apology. In our third story tonight, a new study confirming the administration only lied about those vital matters 935 times. Of course, this does not count so-called indirect falsehoods like Iraq has dangerous weapons. The nonprofit Center for Public Integrity tallied all the false statements made by 8 top members of the administration in the 2 years after September 11th, including obviously the run-up to the Iraq War. From the lowest number of lies to the highest, then here are the center's findings of the individual standings. Then Deputy White House Press Secretary Scott McClellan, perennially out of the loop, only lied 14 times. Publicity-shy Vice President Dick Cheney, who does not talk publicly a lot, only had 48 fabrications on the issue. We await calculation of his talking-to-lying ratio. Condoleezza Rice, at that time the National Security Advisor, her specialty was the non-existent Soviet Union, so she got Iraq wrong 56 times. Former Defense Deputy Secretary Paul Wolfowitz, 85 times. His boss, Donald Rumsfeld, only lied 109 times, we think, given the known unknowns in figuring out what he's saying. Tied him with White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer, whose job was ostensibly not to lie. Former Secretary of State Colin Powell came in at second place with 254 false statements. Many of them, of course, impacted that infamous speech to the UN. And at number 1, the calumniator-in-chief, with not just those 16 false words in his State of the Union, but 260 false statements to the Union as he pushed to take the focus off al-Qaeda and have American blood spilled in the war of his choice. Let's bring in a career debunker of these lies, MSNBC political analyst Rachel Maddow, who airs weeknights on Air America Radio. Good to see you again.
Hi, Keith.
Only 935. I mean, in gambling terms, the under one. Who knew?
You know, looking back before today, before we had a Boolean keyword searchable database of lies about the lead up to the Iraq War, you had the sense that we were lied to a lot about weapons of mass destruction, about Saddam having links to al-Qaeda and to 9/11. But having all of these instances in a list now, literally in a searchable database of lies, kind of plugs up the memory hole in a way. It means that we have the evidence at hand to rebut the assertion. Every time somebody asserts that, oh, the intelligence was a little fuzzy, or I never made that sort of claim, 935 lies may feel low or it may feel high, but they're all provable, documented lies that can't disappear again, that can't disappear into the public record or down the memory hole.
So, and it's 532 different occasions, so it's basically a 2-to-1 ratio of lies to opportunities for lies, which is kind of spectacular in its own way.
Compound sentences, I think, is what that means.
The center did not include false implications, indirect follow-ups like Iraq has dangerous weapons, or Iran has dangerous weapons for that matter. The Republican echoing actual other Republicans outside the administration saying the same things. You've got all the senators and congressmen are not counted in this list. Fox News Chicken Little moments are not included in this. But what basis is there for claiming that this was planned deceit as opposed to innocent, albeit voluminous incompetence?
Well, I spoke with the director of the Center for Public Integrity about that fact today. I said, well, how do you get from there were a lot of lies to the lies were planned? And he said, well, one of the unexpected things that they found when they organized all of this information was that there was these really noticeable quantitative spikes in the number of lies being told. At certain times, they were lying a lot faster than at other times. For example, in the lead up to the congressional authorization and midterm elections, at specific politically important moments, the lies got faster. There's no way to explain that unless they were lying in order to accomplish the political objective.
And one of those was in September 2002. The White House Chief of Staff, Andy Card, later said, well, you don't roll out a new program or project or you don't sell a new product in August. So the ultimate question here is, if the threat was genuine and or imminent, why treat it as a sales job? Why do those spikes?
Yeah, well, it reminds me actually of the wiretapping bill, which is more recent, where Bush said, if Congress doesn't pass the wiretapping bill, we're at risk of another 9/11. Oh, and by the way, I will veto that bill unless it includes lawsuit immunity for the phone companies. So we're left to think he's going to put us at risk of another 9/11 to protect the phone companies from lawsuits?
Damn right.
Yeah, same thing with the war. We had to go to war because the smoking gun was going to be a mushroom cloud. We had to go to war to protect us from the threat of nuclear annihilation, which they were willing to endure for a few more weeks if it would help get a few more Republicans elected to Congress.
Right, and 9/11 and preventing a repeated 9/11 is our #1 priority, except when it's not our #1 priority. That's the gist of that.
Yes.
All right, and the last thing here is, at this stage, with an election in the offing? What do the Democrats do with this Boolean searchable database? I mean, is there time, is there political inclination to impeach, or what do you do with this other than just, you know, tar these guys' memories in history?
The political inclination to impeach is something that I have yet to plumb. I don't understand why the Democrats haven't pursued it, except some of the more spineful Democrats in Congress, even though that's not a word. I think, personally, in terms of just my ethics and the way I approach these things, that it's an insult to the Constitution if you think that high crimes and misdemeanors have been committed, to not keep impeachment on the table as the remedy to those things. If you don't, you're setting an evil precedent for future generations and future presidents that it is okay to get away with those things. I think we owe it to our kids and our grandkids that to not take impeachment off the table.
All right, well, think about this one. We'll talk about it next time you're here. What about impeaching after the election? So it's a completely apolitical issue. Just to keep that in the back of your head. Rachel Maddow, MSNBC political analyst, who's now looking at me like I'm completely crazy.
No, you're not.
Also of Air America. We'll see you Saturday for South Carolina, if not sooner.
Indeed. Thanks, Keith.